I have tried every single cut, color, and style through the years. Some of the brightest, most colorful, or most controversial hair transformations, and each one has been nothing short of amazing. I always try to enjoy the journey that led me to the very final result, and while I am always so happy with whatever it is that I ended up with, there are occasionally some styles, colors, or cuts that just don't quite cut it, and especially some that are such a pain afterwards. This doesn't happen often, and I always try to be super honest whenever sharing my results with you guys, but today we're going to jump into and discuss top 5 hairstyles that I regret getting. Over my 10-year career, I have tried a very large variety of styles, cuts, and colors. I tend to not limit myself to anything, and I'm always so open to at least having tried something once. And I always make it kind of my brand identity to say that I'm always so much more excited about the journey getting there rather than the end result at the end. And very rarely do I put a concrete image to the end look and instead just get an idea beforehand for a technique or application and kind of work through there. And so it very rarely happens that I am unsatisfied with my end look. However, there are the 1% times where the haircut, style, or color that I just got to is just a headache afterwards, or the end color is just not what I wanted, and it ends up being such a headache and a hassle to then repair it that I end up regretting the look in the first place. It really is a rarity, and for the most part, I do love every single thing that I have tried. But today I'm going to be sharing with you the top 5 haircuts, styles, and colors that I regret having tried. Before we get fully into the video, I want to first introduce to you Oranum. Oranum are hosting an incredible raffle for every single one of you guys to enter, for you guys to be in the chance of winning a $25 free entry to the world's best live streaming psychic platform. All you have to do is sign up at the link below, comment down your username, and I will be picking 10 lucky winners to try out this platform. Oranum is an online site where you can have 24/7 access to live clairvoyants, psychics, and palm readers. You can enter various chat rooms and chat about what you want to discuss and build trust with certain professionals on the website based on what it is you're after. You can also then use your credits to get a one-to-one session with whoever it is that you trust the most on the platform to get a personalized psychic reading, to discuss your love life, your career, your friendships, or to connect with someone deeper. It is a fantastic platform to learn so much more about yourself, sit down and have a chat, get personal tarot readings, or just very good psychic readings. Whether you believe in these or not, this could be a very fun experience to just learn so much more about the world that you are living in and help you understand some of the things that might be happening. If you've been meaning to give this a go or want to just give it a one-time try, you can sign up now using my exclusive link, and you can also then comment your username down below to be entered in the chance of winning $25 free on the Oranum site to get credits to connect with a live professional in whatever area you want to develop or get guidance in. If you are picked, I will respond directly to your comment and you can start your Oranum journey there. Let's get back into the video. Let's get down into it. At number 5. In 2020, I had this incredible red to blue, beautiful color ombre that I tried when I was in COVID, and it ended up being one of my favorite colors ever just because of how unsimilar the two colors were. However, as often happens when having two colors in your hair, the blue started fading much quicker and it ended up fading into this gorgeous silver color. As a result, I wanted to see if there was any way for me to neutralize the red on top so it is not as red or harsh. And I wanted to try this out using a blonde permanent color. However, as I know now and as I knew at the time, color does not lift active color. Instead, it just deposits and often makes the color darker. So it did not really neutralize the red and bring it more to a golden tone, which is how I wanted it. Instead, it just darkened it a lot. The end look was this super grungy dark color. It did seem to lack any of that previous vibrance, and I did lose a ton of that red pigments that I still kind of wanted to keep. I was also especially bummed because it was close to summertime and I did not want to darken my hair a lot, which is what happened in this case. While I was super happy to have experimented and tried out a new dyeing technique or a dye color in my personal collection, I ended up giving up a ton of progress with my hair because I was was trying to lighten it, and instead I just ended up going much darker than I intended, as a result losing months of progress on my hair depth. While the color wasn't in any way offensive or bad or ugly, I did end up cutting off most of the ends just because I just really wasn't feeling it, and overall I feel like this is one of my most dull color transformations, and it was one of the ones that I soon ended up regretting just because of how dull the end look was, and I kept wanting to go back to my initial red. At number 4. Back in early 2021, I actually managed to give myself a black eye playing tennis because the tennis ball smashed straight into my glasses, which broke onto my face, which meant that for a while I was sporting a black eye. As a result, I decided, let me see what I could do just to fill up the time and just try random hairstyles while my eye is healing. I'm going to explain to you what I did, and then you can guess why this made the list, because it was not a fun process. Because my hair was so short at the time, I wanted to see what it would be like to gel it all back and try out a true wet look on that length of hair. So I grabbed up 3 of my innocuous gels that I had at the time, and I applied them all pretty intensely all over my hair in a way that coated every single hair strand with a variety concoction of gels. The end look was super fun. It was very interesting. It was a wet look, and I got to play with it for a while. But can you guess what happened after? When it came to then me washing this out, emphasis on trying to wash it out, the gels would just not leave my hair. There are times when using particularly heavy products and in combination with one another, something happens on the hair called product buildup. The product just adheres to the hair shaft or cuticle, and no amount of regular shampoos will remove it. This was what was happening here, and I did 3 very vigorous shampoos on my hair and the gel would not leave my hair. I ended up coming back a few hours later after having already gone to bed because the feeling was so annoying and so disturbing, and I was so concerned for my hair, and I had to end up using a hair clarifying shampoo, which is not recommended to use very often because the pH of it is so high. I ended up using this one by Malibu Sea Professionals, which has a pH higher than 9, which is alkaline, and it is not great to use this very often on the hair because hair has a natural pH of a 4.5, 5.5, which means it's acidic. But it was necessary for me to use this clarifying shampoo on my hair because the entire cuticle of the hair had to be opened up so it could extract all of this product, all of these gels that just would stick to my hair. And even after washing it 2 more times with clarifying shampoo, 5 total shampoos in one day, my hair still did not go back perfectly to how it was before, with the hair still feeling super sticky and coated. Well, it obviously wasn't a massive catastrophe, so to speak. It was one of those hairstyles that I regretted right then and there in the moment after having to wash this so many times. It was such a time-consuming and annoying process for something that was meant to be lighthearted and fun. It did make me realize that the products that I have within my shelf can be problematic if used incorrectly. And while it was fine for me because I did have the products that I needed to then reverse or fix the issue, it is worth knowing that at times we should do a test strand before committing to something, just so we know and understand what can happen to the hair. This was something that I only learned after doing this. So while I do regret doing it kind of in the moment just because it was so painstaking to remove, I did learn at least that much from it, and I'm kind of glad to have done it still. At number 3, shaving off my hair. Earlier last year, I decided that I wanted to try every single haircut ending up with a buzz cut. And I did actually commit to it, and I shaved my hair and had a shaved head for roughly 2 months of the summer. I ended up bleaching it and painting all sorts of designs on it, and it was probably the most creative that I have felt ever as a hairstylist and as an artist and as a creator. However, as a professional whose career revolved very heavily around her appearance and around her hair, I could not recommend a haircut to kill your career quicker. When I shaved my head, I thought that people would love it in the same way that I loved it. It would be a brand new look and it would kind of fuel my creativity. The problem, however, was that people did not see it that same way. And when people realized that the girl that they often got hair inspiration from and different hair colors and techniques and stuff shaved off her hair, they weren't too pleased, and I ended up losing hundreds of thousands of subscriptions, engagement, viewers, followers, and it ended up killing off 8 years worth of progress that I spent so much time building up. I did end up deciding to start my growth period sooner than I would have thought, just because I was not enjoying it as much as I wanted to. While the cut itself was incredibly liberating and creative motivating, it was something that I didn't quite get to enjoy as much as I wanted, just because it was so heavily tied with my success and my career. If you want to try it for the sake of trying a haircut that requires no effort, is super creative, and is super easy to use, go for it. In fact, I made an entire video all about it, which you can watch here. However, if your appearance is tied very heavily to your career and it dictates the success that you are able to reach, this might be something to reconsider, just because people have such a connection to a person and their appearance. This is something that I only learned, funnily enough, after. So while I'm super incredibly happy to have ticked off a buzz cut and all of the designs off of my bucket list, it is something that ultimately I ended up regretting doing, just because of the outcome that I got on a career spectrum. It is just something that you have to experience to learn. Number 2, the split dye with bob haircut length. I am very often known for some of my wilder hair colors and haircuts, and this was probably one of the ones that is more of my recognizable looks. It ended up being one of my favorites because of this feature, and I'm super happy to have gone for it. But I did actually end up addressing the color and the cut in my worst haircuts video and my worst hair color video, because this particular combination of color with the particular cut ended up being one of the trickiest, most difficult to style heads of hair ever. Split dyes in general tend to be a bit difficult because you're working with two very prominent primary colors that both fade and require attention in their own right. One of the things that I noticed was that the pink side of my head was fading a lot quicker than my purple, and the upkeep required to keep both colors super vibrant was just so tiresome, and ultimately I ended up being like so exhausted half the time that I had this hair color that I was regretting ever having done it in the first place. The haircut then made it all the more difficult because the haircut was one that was very serious, chic, and classy, something that I wouldn't necessarily use to describe a split dye. And very often I had trouble styling the two as a cohesive look, just because it did not feel like it matched. Not to mention that the haircut was still a tricky one to style in any case. However, the thing that was then most difficult about having this particular concoction was when it came to color correcting it to shift it to a different color. As I mentioned, when you have a split dye, you have to kind of tackle both colors separately. In this case, the first thing that I had to do was I had to shift one side of the hair to match the other side. So I had to paint the pink side blue, leave that on for 30 minutes, and then for the last 10 minutes add the remaining dye onto the purple side to get kind of a uniform color. Again, I did not want blue, so this was still an in-between color. However, because I ended up with such a dark color, I then had to go even darker for my very final look, which was a chocolate brown dye. I did not want technically to go for such a dark color, but it was the only one that could correctly and effectively cover up the blue and any underlying shades. And it was a color that I could hopefully rely on, that when it faded, it wouldn't unveil the two separate colors underneath. It was a very challenging color correction. You can watch the entire video over here. While I was happy to have done it, and I learned and I explored and experimented with various color correction techniques, it was something that just felt like it was so much hassle, it was so much of a headache to fix and correct and maintain, that ultimately I don't know that I would try it again knowing what I know now. And so it does find itself on this list. If you are okay with the upkeep of a split dye and you have longer hair, which is what I would recommend, it might be fun for you, and you might have a good, fun, recognizable hair color. However, if you're like me and you like to change things quickly, this might just be too much work for what is meant to be something super fun and carefree. Number 1, and for the final and number 1 most regrettable hair decision or hair choice, was one that I did just 5 months ago. Eggplant black hair, box dyed, permanent. This one is unfortunately self-explanatory. I am no stranger to dyeing my hair dark, not even with permanent hair color. In fact, I almost routinely do it every single December, and I have been doing it for the past 4 or 5 winters. I am normally completely okay with the upkeep that goes with it. However, when I did this particular hair color, I had just shaved my head and I was 3 months into growing it out, which meant that I had full virgin hair. And when I did this hair color, I didn't quite work out in my head that I would be giving up the 3 months of virgin hair that I was growing, and instead of going at it slowly with semi-permanent colors, going lighter to darker to then permanent color, I just went in straight with something that very closely resembled black. It ended up being a super lovely color, and I loved how it looks because I absolutely love the way black looks on me. I think it is such a daring and beautiful hair color. It ended up being such a headache to remove, especially because I really didn't want to waste the health that came with a fresh buzz cut. I ended up doing, I think, 4 or 5 different color removals, bleaches, highlights, and tonings just to get it to a beautiful copper color. And even then, I never got to truly enjoy a beautiful natural head of hair for longer than 3 months. It was a stunning color, and I'm super happy to have done it, and the fade out of it was amazing, but ultimately it was just something that required so much backpedaling just to get back that previous progress that I temporarily gave up for a hair color. Learn to calculate ahead of time what steps I'm going to be taking after the hair colors. And while I'm normally super good at it, it was something that I decided on the whim just because I hadn't dyed my hair in 3 months. So if you have virgin hair and you want to try something, try it semi-permanent first. It'll give you a very clear understanding of what the hair color would be without having to commit to permanent. If you then love the color and you're willing to do it month after month and are understanding of the fact that it is a permanent color, then it is okay to go to your salon, get it done, or do it yourself at home. Because I am a bit of a hair chameleon that loves to explore and experiment with various colors, shades, and formulas, this was just a bit of an oversight on my part, and it ended up being something that I semi-regretted. It's fine though, this is that very same hair and it is still perfectly fine, and it is vibrant and it is nice, but it just took me way longer to get back the original progress that I had. These were the top 5 hair colors that I ended up regretting in my many years long portfolio of colors. In fairness, it was genuinely very difficult to find these 5 just because I love everything. And even from these 5, I gained a ton of knowledge and lessons, and I learned a great deal about hair, coloring, and the hardships that often come after deciding on something that maybe should have been thought out more. If you want to avoid any headaches, any future problems or time wasting, keep these in mind if you're planning on doing anything similar to what I just described. Luckily for me, however, these do happen very far and in between, and it is not something that I encounter very often, not even once a year. So if you want to go for your dream look, please do not let this deter you. Let this be just something to keep in mind for the future. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, join the Stella fam, let's learn a thing or two together, and use the link below to enter into the random raffle. Sign up, get your username commented, and you're in the chance of winning $25 to use on your personalized one-to-one chat with an expert. You can discuss yourself, your life, or your relationships, or you can just have a one-to-one chat with someone who is maybe able to give you a bit more insight on specific things, or if you need a metaphorical hand to hold. Use the link below, sign up. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you'll give it a go, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, babies.